Go all the way, I mean all the way back to, well, midpoint of last year, at the beginning of May, where the Bank of England came out and said, the UK is in recession again. And obviously that was caused predominantly because of the coronavirus crisis. However, as we have continuously pointed out, Britain's economy has been, since 2016, really in a stagnant mess. Even before, the coronavirus crisis hit, there was this complete and utter slowing down of the economy because businesses and investors just didn't know what was going to happen, what the outcome was going to be, and then, as we have said, doing this today, we had the announcement that Amsterdam has overtaken London for the very first time in commodities trading. you know. And one of the things we also said was that the Brexiteers would use the coronavirus to cover up any, the bad economic effects for Brexit. But it is a legitimate question to say, why has the UK taken over, really, at the time, it was a 20% fall compared to the next worst country, where it was about a 12 to 13% on their economy at the time. And now, obviously, we're getting the economic figures from obviously 2020. Obviously, it hasn't been good, and the numbers, once again, are not looking good. And this is not just part of the economy, and the coronavirus crisis that's causing it, it's also Brexit as well, because it is a valid question to ask. Why has our economy been hit so hard? It's not just Corona, there's something else going on as well, and the Conservatives really don't want to answer that question because, as I've said before, they are ideologically wed to the idea of Brexit, and nothing must harm the precious Brexit. So, before we jump into today's article, please do remember that please do remember to hit that like and share button, and also down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link, and thank you very much to the people who do support the channel that way. So, like I said, this comes from the London Economic. The title is "The Worst Economic Crisis of Any Major Economy," as the UK economy shrinks at its fastest rate for over 100 years. Not good, not a good prognosis at all. This is why I've said, especially this year, not only this year, but very well into probably 21, 22, probably even for some time at least, things aren't going to be very, very good in the UK for some time. So, the UK's economy has shrunk at its fastest rate since the 1920s last year, as the pandemic forced thousands of businesses to remain closed for several months. The National Office of National Statistics revealed that domestic gross product, or GDP, had dropped by 9.9%. However, after registering a 1.2% growth in December, despite strong restrictions across large parts of the country, the economy looked set to avoid what could have been its first double-dip recession since the 1970s. So, there we go, sorry. They've just got such a terrible ads on this website. No, that's better. So a double dip means that two recessions within a short period of time, while a recession is defined as a two consecutive quarters where the economy contracts. So there is very little, to be honest, to be cheering about at the moment. Shuren Through, the head of the economics at the British Chamber of Commerce, said, Despite avoiding a double-dip recession with output still well below pre-pandemic levels amid confirmation that 2020 was a historic bleak year for the UK economy, there is very little to cheer about at the latest data. All four sectors tracked by the ONS saw a drop in output, and the statisticians said with the highest drop coming in the construction sector, which contracted by about 12.5%. The ONS Deputy of National Statistician for the Economy of Statistics, Jonathan Arlo, said the loosening of restrictions in parts of many of the UK saw elements of the economy recover and some lost ground in December. However, with hospitality, car sales and hairdressers all seeing some slow growth, and an increase in COVID-19 testing also boosted some output. The economy will continue to grow into the fourth quarter as a whole, despite the additional restrictions in November. The economy was helped in December by the easing of lockdown restrictions, but that had been in parts of the country in November. It was also aided by increased buying in the run-up to Christmas and stockpiling ahead of the Brexit transition period. The health sector grew by 2.4% after being involved with running the COVID testing and tracking systems across the UK. But of course, we all know how those went. In fact, it's very arguable to say that they still haven't sorted that situation out. So Chancellor Rishi Sunak said that the figures revealed the serious shock the pandemic had on the economy. He added, "At the budget, I will set out on the next surge of our platform for jobs and support we'll provide through the next phase of the pandemic." Shadow Chancellor Angela Dobbs said, "These figures confirm that not only the UK has had the worst death toll in Europe, we're experiencing the worst economic crisis of any major economy. Businesses can't wait any longer. The Chancellor needs to come forward now with a plan to secure the economy in the months ahead, with support going hand in hand with health restrictions." She called for a smarter furlough scheme, as the current system is set to run out in April, as well as an extension to the business rates holiday and the VAT reduction from hospitality and tourism companies. The 9.9% fall marks the worst year for the UK economically since records began, and GDP was first measured in the aftermath of the Second World War, and the measure has never previously dropped before 4.1. The last big drop was in 2009, with the Bank of England has also estimated the historic GDP historic GDP going down in the bank within centuries. These measures will come with caveats, but if correct, 2020 would be the worst year since 1921. James Smith, the research director at the Resolution Foundation, said, "The ability to sustainably lift the lockdown restrictions without the virus caseload increasing will determine what a true recovery can actually begin. The strength of that recovery will also be shaped by the decisions taken at the upcoming budget. And this should include an extension and a gradual phasing out of the furlough scheme, along with additional grants to target at sectors most affected by continuing restrictions." So, as you can see, no one's going to deny this is a hard time, really. Any politician would indeed be struggling. Like I say, if we had had Jeremy Corbyn, I think things would be better, although the Conservatives would disagree. But Rishi Sunak is not going to spend the amount of money that it is really going to need to get us out of the economy. Not only that, when things do look set to be on a path to recovery, say in 2022, then what does Rishi Sunak do? Rishi Sunak, shall we say, not Rishi. Rishi Sunak will not be able to give into what his nature is, and that is to implement austerity. He is very much was always on board on the train. He has written many pamphlets over the years saying how austerity was indeed good for the country. Obviously it hasn't, because it's not good for everyone. It's only good for a very, very small section of the country. But that's the situation we are in. We are in for hard economic times ahead, and no one is going to say that there is going to be an easy out for it, but one of the easiest ways will be to spend money. And of course, with the Conservatives in control, the amount of money that they're willing to spend will be very little and not the amount actually needed to help protect jobs and businesses in this country. And so we will enter even more harder times to go ahead. And like I say, I've continuously said, this year is not going to be good. So, as always, thank you for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to the people who do support the channel that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.